I'm sure we've all been personally victimized by our periods, and if you haven't yet, hey guys, it's Sharon. Welcome back to my channel. Now, one of the best things about having a vagina is bonding over the fact that our vaginas have either scarred, embarrassed, or traumatized us at one point or another. If not childbirth, the other thing, the bleeding. It's a period. I'm sure we've all been personally victimized by our periods, and if you haven't yet, actually give us a thumbs up if you've been personally victimized by your period. Mother Nature spares no one. That being said, she especially spares no one when it comes to your first period and you have no idea what a period is and you think you're possibly dying. It's real cruel, isn't it? Today, we're gonna read some of those cruel stories. Yep, that's right. It's another episode of reading your first period horror stories. If you want to check out other episodes, I have a series playlist called Period Horror Stories. It's very bingeable if you ask me. And if you'd like to see more, make sure you subscribe and turn those post notifications on. Now go grab some snacks, some tea, maybe a heating pad and let's get into this. My younger sister was at a friend's house the morning I got my first period. When we picked her up to go to Walmart, my mom put pads in the cart, and the whole time we were in the store, she kept asking why we were buying pads and asked if they were for me so loud. You can't trust kids to take a hint, okay? Kids are so oblivious. And kids will also ask and say the most ridiculous things and have no perception of how ridiculous that thing is that they're saying or asking. Kids don't care, bro. Kids got no shame. But then again, like, this also isn't anything to be ashamed about. If you bleed, you're gonna buy period products. There's nothing to feel shy or embarrassed about when buying period products. But I am gonna counter argue and be like, when you get your first period, yeah, you shouldn't be ashamed and you shouldn't be embarrassed. But you're going through something you've never gone through before. Your body is going through a completely new change. No need to actually feel ashamed about it though, but like, I understand if you're not all happy about it either, if you get what I'm saying. The best way to react in this situation is be like, listen sis, yes, there's blood coming out of my coochie. This pad is gonna collect that blood. Don't worry, give it a few years. You will be in my shoes. And then when your little sister gets her period, that's when you go shopping with her to get period supplies and you do the same thing she did to you. You're just like, who's on their period? Are those pads? Are you on your period? You know, like, what's fair is fair. I remember asking the teacher to go to the bathroom. She said yes, so I went. I realized my period had started for the very first time ever. I got scared because I didn't know what to do. I am deaf, so I asked the interpreter to help me, so I told her that I started my period and she was like, OMG, I'm so proud of you. You can finally have children. I was 12. Anyway, she took me to the youth service center to change and then I was able to feel better. Congratulating people when they get their period by saying, congrats, you can have kids now. I am a child. I am literally a child going through puberty. Why would you ever say that to me? I don't want that energy. I rebuke that actually. Also, like, what if I just never wanted to have kids in general, you know? And then you're like, yay, now you can have kids. Yeah, I don't like kids. It's just such a weird thing to say. Also is kind of a misogynistic thing to say when you really think about it, as if all women are able to do or meant to do is reproduce. So I don't like that. Aside from the fact that it's just really weird to tell a 12-year-old, you can have babies now. Why do you want a 12-year-old having babies? I didn't know we were in Florida. Oh wait, I'm in Florida. I hate it here. Anyways, someone tells you I got my first period, all you gotta do is be like, congrats. That's it. Just end it there. It happened at lunchtime during school. I was about to stand all the way when my best friend yanked me back into the chair. I'm so glad she did because the second I stood up, it felt like Niagara Falls. Luckily, my best friend accidentally spilled her red Gatorade all over me. She is a lifesaver. That is probably one of the best period hacks ever. If you've leaked, and you know what? No shame in a period leak. It happens. We're human. But if you aren't necessarily all that happy or all that confident to walk around with a period leak, spill some red liquid on it. Oh no, I had an oopsie daisy at lunch. Someone spilled red wine at me at the party. Like, it happens. Just play it off. And even if you don't have a red liquid to spill, you can always be like, oh yeah, spilled some ketchup. But also, still, no shame in being like, yeah, I got my period. What you gonna do about it? You gotta change your clothes? It happens. Like, if you haven't had a period leak yet, just shake it off. Own that period leak. Don't let that period leak own you. When I got my first period in class, the teacher took me to the bathroom, gave me a towel, and told me to clean up. She didn't even bother explaining to me what a period was since it was inappropriate. What is inappropriate about a period? I am so sick and tired of people thinking that periods are inappropriate, as if periods are a natural bodily function that will happen to people with vaginas whether they like it or not. I don't have a choice. I can't decide if I want to have a period. My body just just does it because that's how bodies work. It is so weird that people say this. That's like shaming someone for peeing or shaming someone for pooping. Like, you're mad weird if you think periods are inappropriate. I'm sorry. And if it's a cultural thing, then okay, I digress, because that's your culture and I'm not here to judge your culture. It is sad though that naturally bodily functions are inappropriate, but it's people like this teacher that then make menstruators feel ashamed or embarrassed about having a period because they make them feel bad about having a period. This is not what we should be doing. Oh my God, in Florida, they want to pass a bill that says girls can't talk about their periods in school anymore until I think they're like in maybe 6th grade or 5th grade or something like that. That's ridiculous. What? Because periods fall under an inappropriate topic at school. Dude, cry me a freaking river. Imagine if guys had periods, huh? I bet they could talk about it. But we're not gonna get into that right now, are we? I was at my friend's house and we were watching a movie. She got up to use the bathroom and I got up to get a drink. On my way back, I noticed something red on the ground. I thought it was spilt cranberry juice and licked it. Later, when I got up to use the bathroom, I saw the same liquid. My 12-year-old brain soon connected the dots and I went home crying that night. Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you, sis. I can't feel bad for you. I can't, because you saw a liquid on the ground. Was it carpet? Doesn't say. I hope it wasn't carpet, because then you got little carpet fibers in your mouth too. You saw a liquid on the ground, and instead of grabbing a napkin or a little towel like a rational person and wiping it down and cleaning the mess, you decided to use your tongue to lick it and clean it up. Yeah, no, like, that's karma. You wanted to find out what that liquid was so badly you had to taste it. Why would you do that? The ground is dirty. Like, you putting your feet all up on the ground and then you're just gonna lick it too? Oh no, no, no. You don't lick suspicious liquids, and I can't respect people that lick suspicious liquids. You did it to yourself. It's a learning lesson. Now you know next time to wipe. I was always worried about my period because I'm sensitive to blood. When it happened, I was at school. I went to the bathroom and passed out on the toilet. When I woke up, I was still on the toilet. There was blood everywhere. I cleaned up as best as I could and went back to class. I had to explain to my teacher as to why I spent 20 minutes in the bathroom. I feel so bad for people who have a fear of blood. Literally moment of silence for them. Like, I am so sorry. I feel like if you are terrified of blood, or if blood makes you uncomfortable, after having a period and like getting your period for years, you at one point have to get over that fear or have to accustom to it at least. Cause I'm like, you can't not bleed unless you get your uterus removed or you stay pregnant the entire time until menopause, so you don't have to worry about periods. Like, or unless you have some condition that has you missing periods. But it's just like, periods are a thing our bodies do. So at one point you gotta face the music, face the blood, the bloody music, you know? Like, oh, that's horrible. I am so unfazed by blood at this point. Like, when I was younger, I used to be like, oh, blood. But I'm just like, yeah, blood. Washing the crime scene away. Imagine passing out on the toilet every time you're on your period, bro. That's horrible. I would like to point out though that period blood is the only blood that doesn't come from violence or incidents. If that's of any comfort, it's natural, it's pure. It's your uterus stabbing and shedding itself, but I mean, I was at Target and we were in the bathroom supplies area and my mom asked, do you want me to buy any pads for in case you start your period? And I said, no, I'm good. Then I went to go pee before we checked out. I started my period in that bathroom as if my mom knew I would start it at the store. I dissolved some toilet paper in my underwear and told my mom what happened. Then we bought some pads and checked out. Mom totally manifested that. Mom 110% spoke it into the universe, and the universe spoke back loudly and clearly and gave you your period inside that Target bathroom. You know, that's very fitting because like the Target brand, it's all like very red. They got like the red, like the bullseye, you know, periods. Like, actually it is really on brand to get your period inside a Target. And people say manifestation isn't real. Explain this. See, my problem is now every single time I'd go into that Target, I would look at those bathrooms and be like, yep, that's where I got my first period. And like 20 years later, I'll come back with my kid and be like, look, that's where your mommy got her first period. And then just my kid's luck, my kid's gonna start their period too. In that same bathroom, it's just gonna become like tradition. You've heard of quinceañeras? How about getting your first period in this Target bathroom? That'd actually be like really cool, but also concerning. Not a horror story, but my friend friend always used to wear this shirt saying, "And that's on period, sis," with a picture of a uterus on it whenever she started her period. All my teachers thought it was hilarious and just told her to hold her books over the picture so she wouldn't get in trouble with the vice principal. That's actually super fun, and I love your friend for that. I would totally do that. But also what I like about this shirt is that you can arguably like wear it whenever you want. Not only when you're just bleeding. It's a uterus. That's on period. You know, like it makes sense. What sucks is that you'd have to cover it up because it's inappropriate. It's a uterus. It's anatomy. You literally teach it to us. A uterus is literally in the textbooks, but I can't wear one on my shirt. It's not like you're showing a full-blown coochie with bush on your chest, you know? It's just a body part. It would be like me having a liver on my shirt. Literally nothing inappropriate about anatomy, but okay. I started sobbing because I didn't know periods only happened once a month. I thought I was going to bleed every day for the rest of my life. Dude, oh, I thought the same thing. Could you imagine if that were the case? I feel like a lot of us would end up getting hysterectomies. We'd be like, yeah, doc, you know, like, it's just not it for me. I want it taken out and I want it taken out forever. And then like the population just declines because women aren't having babies anymore, because women aren't having uteruses anymore, because women don't want to have periods every single day for the rest of their lives. So yeah, spoiler alert, a period typically happens once a month, but technically it could be a little bit less, it could be a little bit more, because everyone has a different menstrual cycle. For example, your cycle could last 25 days. My cycle could last 28 days, but those usually round to like about a month, right? So that's why we say it's usually every month. And when you get your period, it'll usually be anywhere from like 3, 5, 7, 10 days. We all bleed differently. If you are having like really heavy and really long periods, that could be something to talk about your gyno about, just because it could be like PCOS or endometriosis, like other different conditions like that. But about a week is like a good solid average length of how long your period should last. And then you'll hit menopause in your 40s or 50s. And that's just when your uterus is like, okay, fine, I'll leave you alone. I won't shed anymore. And that's also when you can't have kids anymore. Now, that being said, if you haven't heard, I made a period journal. In this journal, you can track your heavy days, your light days, your spotting days, and any symptoms or anything that you're craving or feeling, or just anything about your period. And I prefer this versus an app because I am forced to learn about my body this way. I'm forced to get to know and understand my period because I have to actively write it out versus just hopping on an app when I am bleeding and being like, I'm bleeding today. If you would like one, I have 3 different covers currently available on my Amazon. So I will link those for you in the bio. And if you get one, let your girl know. Show them, share it with me on Instagram, on Twitter. I would love to see you with your little period journals. And of course, leave a review. A good one, please. Heavy tracking. I didn't have any friends in that class and I bled on the seat. I started crying in front of like 5 or so people at my table and no one knew what to do because we were so little and the teacher was a man, so we didn't want to tell him. A little boy said, hold on, I'll get my sister. I think she might have a pad. He went to his sister, who really hated me since I threw up on her the year before, and she went to the bathroom with me and helped me put on a pad, and she gave me her spare clothes since I didn't have any too. Anyways, I'm dating that boy and his sister who helped me is my best friend. This is probably the sweetest, cutest, most wholesome thing that can come from an embarrassing period moment. Imagine gaining a bestie and a boyfriend for bleeding unexpectedly. Must be nice. Real talk though, just because your teacher's a man, like, don't be afraid to let him know that you're on your period. And if it makes him uncomfortable, he needs to grow up. I'm sure he's met women with periods before. They're natural. They're gonna happen, and that's okay. Actually, piggybacking off of that, if there's a boy that you know and you might be crushing on, having some feelings for, and he thinks periods are gross, dump him, sis. Don't even think about him. Don't even bother. He's very immature and he needs to grow up. If a boy thinks periods are gross, he's not mature enough to be dating girls with periods. Or I guess really anyone that bleeds. My favorite thing about this is her being like, I didn't want him to ask her sister because she hates me, but then the sister came through. If there is one thing that will always unite people with vaginas, is periods. You could be my #1 enemy. I could despise you, loathe you. If you're bleeding and you ask me for a pad or a tampon and I have one, I will give it to you. That's just like girl code. Like, that's just the least we can do because we know and understand what it's like. We have been in that situation and we would love to have someone help us, so why wouldn't we do that for someone else? That's another actually beautiful thing about vaginas. It unites even the worst of enemies. Well, I had gotten cramps when I was trying to go to sleep and I went to my mom and I'm like, I'm hurting, and explained, and for a hot sec we thought it was appendicitis. And then I woke up the next morning and I got it right after my mom left and went to the bathroom and there it was. I told my mom and she's like, well, at least it wasn't appendicitis. and we still joke about how we thought it was. This reminds me of an episode of Gilmore Girls. This is the episode when like Luke's daughter is staying over at his place and she got appendicitis. I thought it was her period. This girl is like 11 or 12 and she's staying at her dad's house and she's talking about cramps, like tummy aches, and she's like leaning over in the fetal position, laying in bed because her tummy hurts so bad. I was like, oh my god, she's getting her period. This is gonna be Luke's moment to be like a girl dad, and he's gonna have to deal with raising a girl that has a period and is going through puberty and all that. And then they go to the hospital and it's like, yeah, it's appendicitis. And I was like, seriously, dude? You had to make it that deep? You couldn't let a girl get her period on TV? And then I started thinking about like other TV shows. Like when we were growing up, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up with like Hannah Montana and That's So Raven and Wizards of Waverly Place. And these were all very girl power. They weren't afraid to talk about real issues like racism or like sexism or insecurities or crushes, stuff like that that girls could relate to. They never talked about periods though, even though that's definitely something girls can relate to if they have vaginas, which blew my freaking mind because I'm like, were periods really that inappropriate when those shows were being made that like we just weren't gonna ever acknowledge them at all? What if Hannah's in a bad mood and missing her concert because she has some horrible cramps, but they're not gonna say that? That's crazy to me. You'd rather it be appendicitis than a period? I'd rather be a period than appendicitis any day. So basically it was during online school. I had been suspecting it all morning, but I was scared to go to the bathroom and check if it was my period. After my first class, we had a 15-minute break and I checked and then it was my period. I was 15 minutes late to my second class. My teacher asked why I was late and I asked if I could speak to her in a private breakout room. She said no, and I had to tell her that I got my period in front of the whole class. Fun. I can't believe even in online school, teachers are still forcing kids to tell the entire class what's going on with them. Girl, if you don't, I will log off right now. I will literally turn this camera off and close my laptop. Thank you very much. No. Listen, if you don't want to say something aloud to everyone, but your teacher keeps insisting it, that's when at that point, no shame, you tell your teacher, I don't feel comfortable saying it out loud. So either you let me explain it to you in private, or I will gladly bring my parents into this, because there is seriously no need to purposely try to embarrass a student. If a student does not feel comfortable doing it, why will you force them to do it? You are only giving that student more anxiety, and that's not going to help their case at all, because the next time they have to speak in front of someone, they're just going to think of this moment and be like, oh my gosh, remember that one time I was really anxious and embarrassed because my teacher made me speak my private business in front of everyone? It's so dumb. I thought I sharted. Absolutely. Listen, I don't know about you, my first period, it was like this little brown stuff in my underwear. So that little brown stuff is discharge, and it's brown because it's like old blood. It's just blood that was too late coming out of your coochie, and that's why it's brown, because it like oxidized. When I first saw that in my underwear, I was like, did I just poop myself? How did I poop from the front? Oh my god, what is going on with my body? If you didn't think you sharted when it was actually your period, must be nice. Okay, so day one, I'm at my grandparents' house and all I had was a tampon and it was dry and it hurt, but it was okay. Day two, I bled through my pad, bled through my tampon, and bled through my period underwear all throughout the day. I was pissed. Yeah, it'd be like that. It really do. Sometimes you'll have really light days. The next day, you can't stop bleeding like it's your body's job. A waterfall coming out of your coochie. Hey, this period journal, great for tracking those days, I'm telling you. That being said, it might take a while to like understand and get to know your period. I just got my birth control out, and this is the first time I have been on nothing in 6 years, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to relearn my period completely. I'm gonna have to understand what my actual period cycle is like without the interference of birth control. So I'm in the same boat almost. I'm gonna have to be like, okay, which days are my light days? What are my heavy days? And that's just part of having a vagina. Eventually, as you get older and you have more and more periods, you will start to learn and understand your body. So you'll know your body's norm and when your body is off. It just sucks that in able to get there, you have to go through things like this where you don't bleed enough or you bleed too much. What can you do, you know, other than do it? I was in a public restroom and there was no toilet paper. I had to text my BFF to walk from her house to the place I was because I was too scared to ask a stranger in the restroom. Oops, sorry bestie. Hope that 2-mile walk was because you love me, girl. Your best friend must really love you, because no way am I walking 2 miles to give someone toilet paper because they're too shy to ask someone else for toilet paper. No, sis. No, listen. I know there's that little bit of like social anxiety of talking to strangers pictures, they will never see you again. Listen, when you're in the bathroom, you know that you're in that bathroom to either pee, poop, or bleed. Everyone knows that. Maybe even throw up. But everyone knows why you're in a bathroom stall. So if you need toilet paper, that's nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed to ask for, because they know you need it for whatever business you're doing. So if there's someone in the stall next to you, don't be afraid to ask for toilet paper. You just gonna be like, hey, sorry, this might be a little bit awkward or embarrassing, but I have no toilet paper. Could you give me some? That's it. Instead of making your bestie walk 2 miles to bring you toilet paper. No, I don't love my best friend that much. I'm so sorry. I would literally try to Uber her toilet paper before walking those 2 miles. Not in this Florida sun. I'm good. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you have your own first period horror story that you would like to share with us, please do so. No shame in admitting we all have that one mortifying event. There is comfort in knowing that we have all suffered at the hands of our periods, right? Right. If you want to see more episodes of this series, definitely go check out my series playlist, Period Horror Stories. That's every single episode I've ever made. And if you need any like girl talk, any girl tips, any period tips, period advice, I have a bunch more series on my channels like my girl talks and everything you need about periods. And if you haven't had a period yet, I have a playlist that's like kind of like your start here, your period guide. Lots of bingeable stuff. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you do so and turn on those post notifications as well. Now, shout out of the day goes to Grace. Thank you so much. If you'd like to be shout out of the day, just follow me on my Instagram and stay active. As always, if you see anything in my video that you would like for yourself, like my cloud, my squish, maybe my lipstick, I'll try my best to product tag them. And I will also product tag some of my favorite period supplies and period brands. And of course, if you want a period journal, you should totally get one. This one literally says, don't overreact. And it's a little uterus. I also have one called Flowers Bloom, and I have another one called Shark Week. And of course, more covers to come soon. But if you want one of those, I will link them. So if you get one, let your girl know. I want to see you with it. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope you stay safe out there. I hope you're not bleeding randomly, unexpectedly. And if you are, I hope you walk it off. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. But all that being said, I love you. Bye.